for sure, that's part of it. But if there's enough people, I can also choose, right? So I can't do them all. Well, thank you for joining us here. This morning, this is our last adult Sunday school class of the spring, and then there will be a break till September. And so we have a treat today that we get to hear from Melanie Shantz. She will be sharing a little bit of her time in Cambodia. She went on a learning tour with MCC to Cambodia in January, was it? End of January. And so I think you have some pictures and some things to say, and then we'll have an opportunity to ask her questions as well. I invite you forward and share what you have.
Good morning. Thanks so much for being here and giving me this opportunity to share a bit about the learning tour I was on with MCC. I spent 9 days in Cambodia this past January, both really encouraged by the learning tour, but saddened as well to see some of the things that I did see. Cambodia is a place of stark contradictions, desperate poverty overlaid with unimaginable wealth for a very few, unspeakable horrors of genocide, killing a quarter of the population that ended under 2 generations ago. But now I'm not sure how or what made it capable, but we see joy and vibrancy and energy in the population. As I've reflected on the learnings and begun to digest the things I saw and learned, I've identified a thread through it all that I think impacts the work that we do in the shops and the funds that MCC helps with. The thread for me is resiliency. Cambodia may be a place where they have deep scars, but there's hope amongst the pain, a hope that's supported by the work of MCC and the work that we do each day. The scarf that I have on is an example of something that was produced in one of the garment shops in Cambodia. We had the opportunity to visit 2 shops, or 2 factories, I guess we'll call them, while we were there. Now, while the conditions weren't great, the workers seemed happy and content. They had the privilege of bringing their children to work with them, and they smiled and waved at us, happy to answer any questions that we might have. There was a definite sense of camaraderie and community in the shops. And so this is not something you would see in the sweatshops, and we were not given access to see those shops or those conditions. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you about women peacemakers. MCC has partnered with this organization and walks alongside them, sharing funds to support the mission of building peace. Before I go into a few details, I'd really just like to try and share with you how genuine and approachable this staff that I met, this group of people were. Without a doubt, they were following their calling from God in their mission of peace and helping others. The organization began as a youth group in 2000 and then became a non-governmental organization in 2003, working towards a peaceful, gender-just society, working on conflict resolution for women. In 2025, they reached over 3,000 beneficiaries from abusive backgrounds. Over 55% of them were women. Much of the focus is on the mobile fishing communities and the Muslim women, which are both huge minorities in the area. They are peace builders using empathy, networking, and showing up in communities where women and children are often isolated and suffering from abuse, where there's no assistance, no police, or if there are police, they favor the men committing the abuse as they are male, and this is their way of life. Some of the women are afraid to get help, so the women peacemakers are proactive in reaching out to them, as they are the victims and often will not come out on their own. The government will sometimes provide legal aid. They have more progressive laws and policies around gender violence. However, the laws are hard to enforce with a very corrupt police system. The government definition of peace is that there is no more war, and for the women peacemakers, the definition is no violence and gender equality, and they carry out workshops for both men and women on gender-based violence. So, something a little bit more fun and interesting, I guess, for me, were some of the farm visits that we did. And there's this slide is in a small community near Ba-Panam. And these people are Rath and Johan, and they were a couple that we met in their early to late 60s. And for me, and I'm just going to mention here, there could be moments of emotion for me in this. Some of this is really, particularly this couple, there'll be a memory for me forever. So they've left a huge impression for me, and I would probably call it life-changing. They have been assisted by the organization to develop our villages, which I'm going to refer to as ODOV. And this is a program that offers training for farmers. So they're trained in skills including compost making, just going to slip here, compost making, the use of natural pesticides, and gender equality and peace building in their community. They all offer a sustainable way of farming. Farmers care for each other, meaning they're not so much in competition, but they want to help each other out. As an example, this couple that I'm speaking of, with the natural pesticides that they were using, everyone around them lost their crops, except they were successful in keeping their crops, and they literally shared all of the money they received from that crop with their farmers and their near neighbors. So they just really want to see each other succeed and, to be really honest, to survive. So these farmers are also given the opportunity to borrow money from the cooperative if they need to buy some supplies. So the couple that we met, sorry, I'm going to flip back to them. They were incredibly hospitable. When we met them, they were happy, full of joy, and you could just see in their eyes how excited they were to meet some people from MCC. We felt honored being there. They both came from incredibly poor, large families, and then had their own family of 6 children with 16 grandchildren and 2 great-grandbabies. This family became Christians in 2002, and Ralph is now the local pastor, and they built a very modest structure, concrete building on their property, which is the community church. This really basic structure that they built exceeds the quality of their home greatly. Their home was right there for us to see as well, and it was literally pieces of corrugated metal just pieced together, and it was up on stilts due to issues with water at times. And we just chatted amongst ourselves on the way home in the bus, and we all sort of said that we literally would have been afraid to walk in their home because it just looked like one big push and it could fall over. So again, just amazed at their gratitude for what they have. So this is Rath, and so what he farms, or they farm, are crops, chicken, fish, and frogs. So these frogs are approximately 1 kg in size. These are the breeder frogs. They're not all that big, but you can see in his eyes that this is his world, this is his pride and joy. So these guys were one of my very favorite moments on the trip, and Johan, the woman, in Cambodia, it's not common for women to really touch each other very much, to greet each other that way. And as they get older, they're a little bit more open to that or welcome to that. And anyhow, a few of us were honored with a hug from her as we left, and in their culture, that is just a really big deal. So this experience for me reminded me to be grateful and thankful, and to just really be aware of some of the privileges that I have in my life here. So I'm going to share with you a few more examples of the organization to develop our villages, and just show you a few more slides from some businesses that we saw. So these businesses are located in Prey Vang province, and MCC integrated these opportunities into the community projects, and now they walk alongside with others in charge and offer some funding and help that way. So these projects are for students aged 16 to 22 years of age. Most of the students were raised in orphanages, and they've had little or no opportunity to stay close to home to earn a living. So they're forced to go to the city of Phnom Penh, and they're often forced to leave their own children behind. MCC is offering training and teaching skills, which enables them to stay in the smaller towns with their families, helping to build the local economy and live a safer life. So the first one I guess we visited is a hair and beauty salon. So young women are taught beauty and makeup skills. The program can be anywhere from 6 to 12 months long, and depending really on the student's ability and the teacher. Once they graduate, they can apply for a loan from the program to start up their own salon, which is always the goal, are these new small businesses. At this point, there are 36 students that have been through the program and graduated. They're all local girls from the community nearby. They're able to bring their children to work with them. And when you can bring your children to work, it's just a huge deal, because otherwise the kids are literally left at home, and you've got young children taking care of babies. And it's just, as you can imagine, a scary thing for mom at work wondering about it. So we had the opportunity to see these kids in action. There was a little playroom behind the salon, and we could hear the giggling and the laughter, and then we got the show. They started peeking out around the corner, and then every now and then one would dart out and do a little dance for us and then go racing back in giggling. So it was just, I think for us what was great was to see them just being kids. They just were kids like our own kids at home. So the women also were taught how to run their businesses and manage finances, going to, I think I've got a picture here, going to other salons, having other students come into their salon and teaching them there, so they then could learn and set a shop up on their own. These graduates also, similar to the farming community, if they're too busy, if they can't take appointments for people, then they'll just pass them on to the next small salon in this. They try to have only a few salons per community. So, all right, the next slide is motorcycle mechanic, and again, the same program. Students are trained to repair motorcycles and mopeds. This is their main mode of transportation in Cambodia, and the driving in Cambodia is very different than here. There are basically no rules to the road other than the biggest vehicle has the right of way. So we were in I think, 12-passenger van most of the time. And so we were one of the bigger vehicles, and we always felt safe. We only saw one incident where a young woman just literally was tossed off of her moped, and she got up and gave the thumbs up and popped back on her moped, and off she went. So we did not cause that situation, thankfully, but we did see it, and it was pretty eye-opening. And you would also see families on a moped. We saw a family of 4, and the mom was literally holding a newborn, for sure. So it was, again, just eye-opening for us. But This program, again, the classes can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years, depending on the student's ability. And they often will stay with the mechanic for a good while once they're trained. The goal is always to move and open their own locations. They've been provided with a skill set that enables them to do that, and they can stay in their community, and particularly for young men, stay away from a life of crime. That becomes a very common thing for them. We then went to a men's barber shop. This is a 17-year-old high school dropout, and he went through the program, and he rents this space. It was called Modern Salon. You can't see the pictures on the wall that well, but they're all really cool, funky hairstyles. And we always had a translator with us. No matter where we went, someone could speak Khmer, their language. And so he was really animated and excited to tell us how he was doing the young people styles. And he was quite busy, actually, averaging 10 haircuts a day, 7 days a week. There is no break from work in Cambodia. And he charged $1.25 for a haircut, and his rent was $20 a month. So, if you do the math, he had a good chance to save some money and open his own place. This is a seamstress. We saw this young woman working in a corner of her father's mechanic shop. And I thought I had a picture of her with her baby, and I don't. But anyhow, she is able to bring her young child to work with her. Her mom is there, her dad is there, and so between them doing the sewing and the mechanic work, they're able to also have this child with them, which brought them all great joy and made them feel safe. So the gentleman who was leading our group for that had previously had a shirt made by her. And he was wearing it that day, and it looked like a store-bought, beautiful shirt. And if I recall, it was $13 US that he paid for that. So, that was a cool experience to see. So we visited a school called Prey Tom Pong School. And we went there to see a peace club in practice. This first slide is an awfully strange slide when you're talking about peace clubs. I don't know if anyone has a guess at what they might be looking at there. Yeah, it's a portion of an American bomb, one that was dropped in Cambodia. And this is their school bell. And so this is what they do in Cambodia. They take the horror that they've been through and they do something good with it. So to ring this bell was quite the honor, and we were able to see that happen at the end of the day. And there's this little hammer that they go out and just hammer it as hard as they can. So, but when we were able to, at this school, we were able to sit in on one of these peace clubs with grade 6s as they went through some of the curriculum. So this was led by an MCC staff member, Mali, and the students spent some time learning about the concept of their emotions, that they're not necessarily good or bad, but they're rather natural and part of their lives. That we need to be aware of our emotions and especially of what actions we take because of them. Happy to tell you that the students were the same as children here, laughing and teasing each other, and they were quite open to engaging in the material of the classroom. And we talked amongst ourselves, the people on the learning tour, just saying that after we sat in this class, it was quite interesting to us, and we thought that some of the pieces would do well here in our school system as well. The Peace Clubs in this context operate on a multi-year system, MCC-led, while training the teachers. And then the next year, the teachers do the leading with MCC staff as support. And after that, the teachers do the training and the work themselves to continue to train other teachers, to continue the cycle. When we talk about the outcomes of this training, several teachers in the school indicated that they could see a stark difference in the children taking the classes. The school principal told us that he has had significantly fewer behavioral issues in the classes that have taken this course. The grade 5 students are asking if they cannot be part of this class, and yet they just have to wait one more year till they're in grade 6. Many of the parents have reached out to the school to ask questions about the program and to report that it has improved their children's behavior. Discipline in the schools and in the homes in Cambodia is physical violence. They're working hard at changing that in this school where we were, and they are seeing changes. There were times when parents were calling in and they were asking why their children weren't being beaten for discipline anymore. They thought that was the right way to do things. So they are, after I think this is 4 years that this program has been led, and they are seeing a change in the cycle. So we hear about Peace Clubs in Ontario, but to actually see a Peace Club system in operation was very eye-opening. It's not something minor, it's not just another subject. It's clear that for many of these students it's transformational, and in the context of a country so badly, horribly scarred by war, it ultimately has the potential to change their society going forward. That's another picture of the classroom there. Our time in Cambodia began and ended with church services, one in English, the first one, and one in Khmer, the last one. They were both really incredible experiences for me. I think particularly the one in Khmer, you just felt the love in the room. You felt God's presence, and it was just a great experience. One of the most fulfilling things that I gained from this learning tour was that every half hour, every tiny bit of time that's provided by a volunteer or a staff or a donation given, whether it's large or small, and each purchase that's made in the shop, it changes lives. We saw some of these people with a hope. We saw that they had a chance in life, and it offers people fresh starts, and it gives people hope. And I just continue to feel really privileged to be a part of MCC and to do that for people. I'm just going to take a moment here, and then before I close, I'm going to read you a poem that someone from the tour wrote. So Becca wrote this poem. She was one of the participants, and it was towards the end, and she shared with us that she felt that she hadn't done a lot of interaction while she was there. She felt like she was a very reserved person, and she stood back and just sort of watched, and a lot of us had questions and comments and were really involved. And I'll read you this poem, and you'll see just how involved Becca was. There's a place where worlds collide, where our expectations and hopes tumble together with reality. What do we do when our earth splits open? How do we gauge the change? Like a van shivering up and down on a bumpy rural road, we find impact. Like a mechanic's tool wrenching new pieces together, we find impact. Like a frog jumping into a net, we find impact. Our hearts tenderly broken for the planet's injustice, the truth of a once unknown land crashing upon us, the history of a people that has quaked and calmed on an active fault line. How can we measure the systemic shifts? Like the footsteps of 100 curious children, we find impact. Like the clanging of an unassuming school bell, we find impact. Like the shouts of justice from voices once silenced, we find impact. Like the tides of change that come from blossoming peace, we find impact. A perfect storm, a tsunami of information, a shift in the Earth's atmosphere. What does it mean to be part of this meaning? Like a bag of rice thrown secretly into the back of a car, we find impact. Like new teeth chattering carefully against each other, we find impact. Like two sticks of bamboo clanging against one another, perfecting the beat of a cosmic song, we find impact. 100 serendipitous collisions, hearts broken only to grow together stronger, a sense of hope ringing true in the air. We gather, we celebrate, we remember, we commit, we honor, and we cherish the impact. Thank you. That is what I have to share with you guys. I am happy if people have questions, I will try and answer them the best I can.
I would love to hear more about the peace clubs. So you said that we have peace clubs here in Ontario as well? And do you know much about it? Just as an educator, I'm interested.
I do not know much about them. Jan, I'm sorry, I can probably get information.
Yeah.
Mark spoke a little bit more on that, and I could probably get you a bit of information on that.
It sounds like it's very impactful, and this is something like...
Yeah, just to sit in on one session was quite amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Melanie, does the Women's Peace Club, do they get any pushback from the male population of the work that they're doing?
There is definitely pushback, and they have to be very selective and careful of where and how they reach out. They have some safe places also for women and children, but there's a lot of pushback, and the government tries to be helpful and be involved, and yet like the policing system is really corrupt. Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance, but can you explain where Cambodia is on the map?
Not very well, no. I know it borders Thailand. Unfortunately, I can't, Doug. I'm sorry. And they were long flights. We flew into Seoul and then from there to Cambodia. Yeah.
We'll see if Tech can find a map for us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, I just will admit that I don't know their war history. Like, how recent has there been bombing on that land, you know?
Well, within the last, the whole genocide was ended in 79. So. Oh, sure. Yeah.
No, you mentioned that Muslim was a minority religion. What is the major religion in Cambodia?
Well, Christianity is less than 2%. I believe it's Buddhism, I believe.
Buddhism?
I believe it is.
And I was just wondering whether, does MCC try to connect with the churches? Because I think church would be also a place for a peace club, for example, right? Or some of the education regarding emotional awareness and all that stuff they're teaching in the schools. I think I could see, or for the women's and their peacemaking clubs, that would be a natural place for it if the church would be open to it. I just don't know.
So I don't know of any churches that they are involved with in that way. Possibly moving forward, but the big piece is also is how limited the funds are
Right.
at this point,
Yeah.
and more limited, unfortunately,
Yeah.
than ever right now.
Yeah, because I hope, like, I know that the chances the churches would be reflect culture. That's what, how we're at the beginning, right? It would be, so you have the males who would be not used to being violent at homes, even in the church.
Yeah,
But it's a good place for it to happen, the education to happen in the church, begin the shift there as well, right? So that's what's going through my mind here a bit.
There's the map.
okay.
That gives an idea. So right next to Vietnam and Laos and Thailand.
Thank you for that.
Let's just leave it up there.
Hi, ma'am. This is Rejai. How many days stay there and then volunteer? 1 month, 2 months, 1 year?
So we were just there in Cambodia for 9 days on a learning tour. We met with several other programs, I think 3 other programs. Most of them were young people, and some had a 3-month term. Some were there for a couple of years. It just depended on the program that they went through with MCC, and I think there's 3 or 4 different programs that are offered, and not always in Cambodia, but different places. There's one for young adults as well.
And this was connected through your role in the thrift store, right?
Yes, it was, yeah. So I went with, there were 10 participants in total, and we were all within MCC Ontario, some at store level, some through different places in head office. Not all from Kitchener, like some from Calgary and BC. We actually met in BC for a day of orientation and training, which was a really great thing, because in that, 36 hours that we spent together, we formed this really amazing bond. And so then when we were there, and none of us knew more than one other person going. I was lucky enough that Mark, who is my supervisor at the thrift store, he went as well. So I was really thankful. That was a very comforting piece to travel. I'd never traveled like that before. So that was a very comforting piece for me. And I think in the end we realized that everybody sort of knew of or knew someone slightly, but that was it. So
That was going to be my question. Who did you
Okay.
travel with? What was the big why for
Yeah.
your trip? But you
Yeah.
already answered that.
okay, perfect.
I am interested in maybe 1 or 2 most impactful. You shared impactful moments,
Mm-hmm.
but like now that you've been home a
That
little
I'm
longer,
home.
what are things that are sticking with you?
Well, one of them is I have to, the farming, the couple that I already spoke of. I mean, that is probably the biggest piece for me. I think we met, this is not something I shared, and I'll be very brief on it, but we met with another program where they bring, they're sending people, you know how they're just deporting everyone right now from the States. So we met with a lot of the deportees. We met with about 15 of them. I didn't tell this story because I knew I wouldn't get through it very well. But so we met with them, and some had been there for up to 3 months, and some were as literally fresh as 2 days. And they shared some of their experiences from literally. So these were all convicts who had done their time. So they had gone through the system, and they had paid their dues, so to speak. And they would get picked up just at work. They would get called into ISIS just for a meeting, and then they would get handcuffed and taken to the airport. And some of them were just like literally ripped from the grips of their family, and they took nothing with them. And they arrived to the airport, and right now I can't, KAV, and I'm really sorry right now I can't think of the exact name of that program. And anyhow, they would meet them at the airport, but these deportees didn't know they were being met, but they would meet them there. And they came with no medical history, some of them had mental health issues, some of them had serious illnesses, and they would arrive with nothing. And they would have come on the airplane and 40 hours, like almost like a little tiny holding cell, and often not fed, like horrible conditions to get there. And I think my point is that they got there, and then they were given food and shelter. They were given a sense of community. They stayed together, and we sat with these. There was one woman and probably 13 or 14 men, and we sat with them. And the one man, he was like overjoyed, and he said, "You'll have to excuse me if you can't understand me very well." He had just been given new teeth that day. He arrived without any teeth, and he had been given teeth. And so the goal of this program also then is to teach them so they have skills, and they help them find employment. And they work hard at not finding just basic employment. A lot of them become English teachers, because a lot of these people, they didn't even grow up in Cambodia. Like they're refugees, and they're sent back, and their parents may have come from Thailand or Cambodia, and they're brought back, and they don't even speak the language. They speak English. They don't even know the language. They don't know the culture. They don't know any of it. And there were a couple of really tough guys there. They were gang members, and they shared with us that because the one gentleman his whole face was tattooed, and he shared with us that he was having all his face tattoos removed because that's not who he was anymore, and he was training to be a English teacher. And just the humility in them to say thank you, and that they have these opportunities. I didn't really share about that program for two reasons. The funding has been cut for that program through Trump, and so through the states they can't fund that program anymore. So that's kind of where this poem came from. Becca was just devastated by the fact that within less than a year that program would be over. And they've helped over 900 deportees at this point, and we were there at the end of January and the beginning of February, and so that was 900 to date, and then they had helped over 300, and 900 to date in 8 years, and they had helped over 300 already in 2026. So the need has just become crazy, and this program will end. So that's a sad piece of it, but there are a lot of people who've been helped by that program. So. I will share something else that is a happy note, because I don't want to end that way at all, because my time there was unbelievable. And I did see a lot of really great, good things. The people of Cambodia are very genuine, very happy. They want to have any conversation they can with you, even when language is a barrier. They're very respectful and hospitable. They treated us in a way that I don't think I expected to be treated. It was amazing. The food was fantastic. It was really great. A lot of rice, a lot of vegetables, a lot of great sauces. I think one of my favorite things was, it was called moke, and it was coconut and seasoning and flavoring in this wrapped up banana leaf. And so you kind of opened it like a present and ate it. So That was really a great thing. But just, I think just for me, seeing kids being kids was a good thing for me, so.
Just continuing the food theme, do they eat frog legs over there? Those are big frogs.
They sure do, and they actually eat all of the frog.
They eat all the frogs.
So I'm not that adventurous. I will tell you though, I'll tell you that I took all of the medications and shots and everything that they recommended before I went, and it was a lot. And I was adamant that I needed to do all of those things, and I was the only one out of 10 that didn't get sick. And there were a couple that got quite sick while we were there, and some that, it was minor, but I was careful. I was careful in what I ate, and they also told us not to eat any fresh, it was hard, no fresh vegetables at all. So.
Did I see somebody over there?
Thank you so much for coming and listening.
I was just going to ask about the school system. Do families pay for their children to go to school? No?
Some schools, yeah. So the school that we were at was a private school. Those children wore uniforms, and those children, there was a fee. I do not know what it was, Sheila, but they have some private schools as well. Yep. Thank you for listening. It was great to share.
Yes, thank you, Melanie, and for sharing that experience with us. It widened all of our experiences a little bit too, and our perspectives. So this is our final adult education time of this spring, and we will restart that in September again. So thanks for coming and being part of this.